Three houseplants, sitting in any garden center right now for $2 to $4, will pull nitrate out of your pond water more reliably than most of the products I stocked for 36 years. They're not forbidden, they're just inconvenient to sell. I know how that sounds. You've kept a pond long enough to know plants clean water. Water hyacinth, water lettuce, that's not news. But these aren't aquatic plants, these are houseplants. The ones on a windowsill, in a bathroom, on every dentist's waiting room shelf. And the reason they were never in the pond section of my store has nothing to do with whether they work. It's because you only have to buy one once. Every pond accumulates nitrate. Nitrate feeds algae. The pond industry sells you the treatment for that problem every single season. These three plants address the cause. Before you go near a garden center, though, there is one step you cannot skip, and if you skip it, you are gambling with your koi. I'll get to that before we're done. Every fish in your pond is producing ammonia constantly. Every time a fish breathes, every time waste hits the water, ammonia goes in. Your biological filter, the bacteria living on your filter media, converts that ammonia into nitrate. That conversion is the filter doing its job correctly. The problem is that nitrate doesn't go away on its own. It builds up until something removes it. You have exactly two options: water changes or growing plants. That is the whole list. Everything else on the pond store shelf, the algicide, the water clarifier, the chemical treatments, treats the symptom. These three plants treat the cause. A plant with its roots in water and its leaves in open air gets more light and takes in more carbon dioxide than a plant sitting fully underwater. More light and more CO2 means faster growth, and faster growth means more dissolved nutrients pulled out of your water every single day. Same biology as water hyacinth. Different price tag, different aisle. The nitrate remover on my store shelf worked by ion exchange. It bound nitrate molecules until all its binding sites were full, then it stopped working and you replaced it. A Pothos plant removes nitrate by converting it into vine growth that you trim off and discard. No binding sites, it doesn't fill up, no repeat purchase. That is the economic reason these plants never made it to the pond aisle. I'll say it once and move on. The one variable that determines how well any of these plants performs is water flow past the root mass. Roots hanging in still water develop a depleted zone around themselves. Local nitrate concentration drops and absorption slows. Moving water carries fresh, nitrate-rich water to the root surface continuously. Every plant in this video belongs near a pump return, a waterfall spillway, or a filter outflow. I'll say it at each plant, but I'm only explaining it here. Pothos. The trailing vine, climbing the back of a bookshelf or hanging in a basket in a bathroom. Green waxy leaves, long stems, nearly impossible to kill. The reason it leads this list is speed. A single cutting, 6 to 8 inches of stem, 2 or 3 leaves, will show visible root growth within 1 to 2 weeks in pond water. Within a month, that root system becomes a dense fibrous mass with a large surface area pulling nitrate out of your water continuously. In my own 1,800-gallon koi pond, nitrate dropped meaningfully over the first several weeks without any change to my water change schedule. I'm not going to throw a specific number at you. I can't verify for your pond because it depends on fish load, feeding rate, and how much flow is hitting the roots. But the effect is real, and it shows up fast enough that you don't need a laboratory to notice it. For a pond up to 1,000 gallons, start with one established cutting near your strongest water movement. For larger ponds, one cutting per 1,000 gallons is a sensible starting point. Place the cut end of the stem into the pond water near the pump return or waterfall spillway. Roots in the water. Leaves trail above the surface in open air. No pot, no basket, no equipment. Trim it regularly, every few weeks once it's growing hard. And here is the step that actually makes the system work. The trimmings go away from the pond. Every piece of vine you remove takes with it the nitrate that plant absorbed from your water. That is how nitrate permanently leaves the system. If the trimmings fall back in, those nutrients go right back in. Remove them completely, every time. 2 mistakes I see consistently. The first is placing the roots too far from any real water movement, tucked into a still corner where the water barely circulates. The second is letting the leaves rest on the water surface. Submerged leaves rot and release organic compounds back into your water, which is the opposite of why you're doing this. leaves above the surface, roots in moving water. That is the complete management approach. Pothos is not frost tolerant. Bring it inside when temperatures drop, set it on a windowsill, return it to the pond in spring. And I want to be clear, Pothos does not replace your filter. In a heavily stocked koi pond, it reduces the rate at which nitrate climbs and extends the time between your water changes. That is a real and meaningful improvement. It is not a miracle. The second plant is slower, but it does something this one can't. Peace lily. White flower, drooping leaves when it gets thirsty, perks right back up like nothing happened. NASA looked at it seriously in the 1980s, one of the most effective common houseplants they identified for pulling dissolved organic compounds out of enclosed spaces. That same property carries into water. Peace lily roots absorb nitrates, phosphates, and a range of dissolved organic compounds, broader spectrum than Pothos. The trade-off is growth rate. It grows more slowly, so initial uptake is lower in the first few weeks. But it stabilizes into a steady, long-term contribution that Pothos doesn't quite replicate. Where Pothos gives you a fast initial drop, Peace lily gives you consistent maintenance over time. The deeper value of the peace lily in a pond context isn't just what it absorbs, it's what it tells you. A peace lily growing vigorously, pushing out new leaves, throwing white flowers above the surface, that plant is actively feeding on nitrate. A peace lily that has stalled, older leaves yellowing, no new growth, it has either run out of light or it has run out of nitrate to draw on. In a well-maintained pond, a stalling peace lily often means your water quality is genuinely improving. I have never come across another pond plant that tells you when you are winning. This one does. One thing I want to address, because I see people pull these plants too soon. In a pond where fast-growing plants have already consumed most of the available nitrate, a peace lily can go very quiet. Some people assume the plant is dying and remove it. It isn't. It has reached equilibrium with a nutrient-lean environment. That is a pond succeeding. Leave it. Setup is identical to Pothos. Roots in the water, leaves above the surface, near your pump return or filter outflow. For a pond up to 1,000 gallons, one peace lily alongside a Pothos cutting gives you both speed and long-term stability. Same seasonal caveat, tropical plant, comes in before the first frost, goes back out in spring. I'll tell you something I find a little embarrassing in retrospect. I sold peace lilies for years near the front register of my store. Impulse buy. Nice-looking plant, white flower, people grabbed them on the way out. It never once crossed my mind to suggest putting one near a pond. Everything I've walked you through today, the setup for each plant, the placement, and the amounts already worked out for your pond size. It's all in the Crystal Clear Pond Playbook. $27, links in the description. The whole system in one place, so you're not piecing it together from 6 different videos. Spider plant, green and white striped leaves, long runners with little plantlets dangling off the tips, sold in every supermarket with a plant section. Almost nobody discusses it in pond circles. Growth rate sits between the other two, faster than peace lily, less explosive than Pothos. Consistent nutrient removal without demanding the constant trimming Pothos requires once it gets going. What makes it genuinely useful over time is the runners. Spider plants naturally produce plantlets at the tips that root in water on their own. You don't propagate it, it propagates itself. One established plant continuously expands its own root mass without any effort from you. It's also the most temperature tolerant of the 3, the most consistent year-round contributor, and the one that handles early spring and late fall most reliably. Setup: roots in moving water, leaves above the surface. Let the runners extend. They'll do the rest. Now I need you to hear this next part clearly, because this is where the difference between a good outcome and a very bad one lives. And it applies to all 3 of these plants. Nursery plants are routinely treated with systemic pesticides. Systemic means the pesticide is absorbed into the plant tissue, not sitting on the surface, not something a quick rinse removes, it's inside the plant. When those roots enter your pond water, those compounds leach out. At the concentrations used commercially, they are lethal to invertebrates and seriously harmful to fish. Koi especially. The plant looks perfectly healthy. The label may even say non-toxic to pets. And then something goes wrong in the pond that you cannot explain and cannot undo. I have seen versions of this story more times than I want to count. Always unexpected, always avoidable. Before any of these plants goes near your pond, rinse the entire plant thoroughly under running water. Then place it in a separate container, a bucket, a tub, anything that is not your main pond, filled with dechlorinated water. Leave it there for a minimum of 1 to 2 weeks. Let new root growth establish in clean water first. Then introduce it to the pond. I don't care if the plant costs $2 at the checkout line. If it came from a nursery and it hasn't been through that 2-week protocol, it does not go in a pond with koi in it. Don't gamble with your koi. The risk is not the plant. The risk is what the nursery did to it before you bought it. 2 weeks in a bucket neutralizes that completely. It costs you nothing but time. Nitrate accumulates in your pond. A growing plant absorbs it. You trim the plant and discard the trimmings away from the water. The nitrate leaves permanently. That cycle doesn't fill up. It doesn't need replacing. It just works, and it keeps working as the plant gets bigger. If you want to start this week, pick Pothos. Take a cutting, or buy the smallest pot available, put it in a bucket of dechlorinated water for 1 to 2 weeks, no skipping, then place it near your pump return or waterfall spillway. Roots in, leaves above. Trim regularly. Discard the trimmings well away from the pond. One honest caveat before you go. These plants won't save a pond that's being overfed. If your fish are getting more food than they can finish in 5 minutes, no plant on this list keeps up with that. Fix the feeding first. The plants maintain what good husbandry already built. They don't replace it. You didn't do anything wrong, by the way. You bought what was on the shelf. That's what the shelf was there for. I sold nitrate-removing resin for 36 years. $12 to $18, replace it monthly. I'm not going to do that math out loud, but I knew about Pothos. The garden center has been stocking the most effective long-term nitrate management tool in the backyard pond hobby for decades. It was just in the houseplant section. $2.50 next to the succulents. If you want the setup, the 2-week safety protocol, and every amount already worked out for your pond size in one place, it's in the Crystal Clear Pond Playbook. $27, links in the description. I'm Walt. I spent 36 years in the pond section. Turns out the best thing in the store was 3 shelves over. See you at the next one.